I got into the work of Jordan Peterson, who's a, I guess, University of Toronto professor and stuff like that. But what was interesting to me about that wasn't so much the whole thing of like, what he was actually arguing about was just his level of elocution. That's a really good word, elocution. What does that word mean?
I'm David Wolfe, and I'm here to tell you about what got me here.
This is David Wolfe, raw food enthusiast, nutrition expert.
I've really had a passion for it for almost 25 years.
Greetings, everybody. This is David Avocado Wolfe. I'm here in my office. Let me see if I can get this arranged in a better spot. And had a great night last night coming in from Nashville, Tennessee. And late night, one of those like get in here at 1 o'clock in the morning, work till 3. And late at night, I thought, let me just get on YouTube and see if there's something interesting that I could watch. And I got into the work of Jordan Peterson. Hold on, this thing's making a sound. Let me see if I turn that off. I got into the work of Jordan Peterson, who's a, I guess, University of Toronto professor who's been going around and talking about men and women's issues and gender equality and stuff like that. But what was interesting to me about that wasn't so much the whole thing of like, what he was actually arguing about was just his level of elocution. That's a really good word, elocution. What does that word mean? His speaking capability and the thought behind each word was very rare, I have to tell you. Being a public speaker all these years, 3,000 live events, it's very rare to find anybody who really thinks about everything that they're going to say before they say it. And in a measured way. And so I was very inspired by that. I was like, geez, I wasn't really getting into what his arguments were, but I was very impressed by his level of elocution. And also that he was willing to go into, like, it seemed like hostile environments, maybe not, but it seemed like hostile environments and debate. And this was interesting. This was in contrast to a message I had gotten earlier today about somebody said, I said, we need a continuing and ongoing public debate about the vaccine issue. We need a continuing and ongoing debate about every issue. Really, that's what a Republican form of government is really about. And that's what a democratic form of government is really all about. We need to talk these ideas out in public and see how we feel about them and get both sides and then weigh the evidence. And interestingly, somebody said, I got to find the exact quote, but somebody said to me, we don't need a debate. Okay, here was the response. See, this is not a debate. This is drowning out the opposition by yelling the same thing over and over again. Debates go back and forth with points and counterpoints, as if we can't learn anything from a debate. And all of this is speaking to part of our culture that's going into almost like a fanaticism. Right? It's like, look, I want to debate. I want to hear both sides of the issue. That's why we have presidential debates. That's why we have political debates, because we want to see both sides. We want to see both candidates. We want to see all candidates. Whether there's 2 candidates or 5 candidates on the stage, we want to hear them debate each other because we want to hear who's capable of measuring their words. This is one of the things, when Trump got into office, one of the things they say about him is he's not presidential, right? And it's probably because he doesn't measure his words like other presidential candidates have in the past or whatever. So regardless of what you think of Trump, one of the things he should do is measure his words more. And one of the things that was interesting about Jordan Peterson, is that he was measuring his words really well. And I thought that was just profound and unusual. Again, regardless of what he was talking about, I wasn't really paying attention to what he was talking about. I was just more paying attention to him and the way he was using very significantly complex vocabulary. And that was cool too. That's another thing that's lost as well. Not only were we not debating when we should, and not only were we not measuring our sentences when we should, but we don't use the entire vocabulary that we should. Now, the average university professor, well-educated, someone probably like Jordan Peterson, that kind of person is going to use somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 different words in the English language. And that's significant, by the way. That's unusual. The average person on the street is going to use 200 different words in their conversations, in their normal communication. When you get to Shakespeare, you're talking about 11 to 13,000 different words that are used in Shakespeare, just to give you an idea of the level of complexity that we're talking about here, and talking about, especially with Shakespeare. And this is one of the reasons why Shakespeare is such an important canon of work in Western literature, is because when you read Shakespeare, you can expand your vocabulary, you can improve your elocution. And one of the things I learned way early on, this is a fascinating bit of research, it might have been from Earl Nightingale, was that it's your vocabulary more than anything else that will determine your success in life. I thought, geez, that is interesting. And that was about 25 years ago. Now I've got to review that and go back and see if that's really true, up to date with the research that's happening today. But it's something that I took in deeply because I love Earl Nightingale, and I loved his elocution. What a great speaker it was, and what great messages he had. And he was very adamant about your level of vocabulary and expanding your level of vocabulary. So let's break that down into what that means for us day to day. Every day, because of that kind of education, and because I do have an ear for elocution and speaking capability, I will go and look up words. I'll look up some interesting words and see what they mean. I spent last night, while I'm listening to this guy speak, I'm also researching the meanings of many different chemical words for carbon-60 derivatives or carbon-60 molecules. So if you know about the carbon-60, there's the carbon-60 right there. That's my particular bottle. And it's the super charcoal, basically, the super carbon. Take a little bit of that. I'm writing a book on it right now. And I wanted to have because there's so much complex vocabulary surrounding this material and the way it's used in science, I wanted to create a glossary. And I'm going through and I'm getting into definitions and meanings of words, and it was interesting, and I'm learning so much every night. In fact, one of the reasons why I write books and got into writing books is because it allows me to master the material. I've never written a book because it's like, oh, I'm going to be like Stephen King and sell millions of books. I've never done that. I've been reasonably successful with selling books, but it's not, it's not like it has paid the bills over the years. So, mostly what I'm doing it for is to really learn the material myself, because I'm a public speaker and I want to really internalize that information. And when somebody brings up, what is, this metallofullerene, I know what it is. I know that it's a fullerene, like a carbon-60 with a metal ion in the middle of it. This is the reason why I continue to research and write. It's not necessarily to again, create the book, although a book will finally be created. It's just to really master and internalize the information myself. And that's what I recommend for you too. You may not go out there and become a great writer, but you may actually go out there and become a knowledge asset. You may become somebody that somebody goes, oh, that person really thought through what they were talking about. And hopefully you become someone who appreciates vocabulary, who appreciates knowledge, and appreciates elocution, and is moving towards more and more debate and discussion rather than away. I'm David Avocado Wolfe, signing off from my office here in Northern California. Have the best day ever.
Success is persistence. I will persist until I succeed. I will never consider defeat. I will remove from my vocabulary such words as quit, cannot, unable, impossible, hopeless, and retreat. For those are the words of fools. I will persist until I succeed.